I'm not a writer.
Okay.
For those who...
What we do here is go back.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Army? Oh, yes! I am your host, Tim, the one and only Chada Mecha, and you are watching the Chada Mecha live stream. What is going on? It's Happy Wednesday! Hump Day! Let's go! Ooh! So much to talk about. So much to talk about. Yeah. So, let's get the business out of the way first. Chris R was correct, Child of Mecha. We're rocking the classic tonight. If you want to get one of these shirts, which I know you do, www.childofmecha.com is the place to be. Go hit it up and hit the store button up at the top. You will find shirts, hats, bags, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Go and get you some. Deck yourself out. And your family too. It's a good look for summer. Beyond that, if you're interested in any of the tools and materials that we're going to be working with here tonight, Amazon link just below here on YouTube and on Twitch. That side if you're watching on Facebook. We got a bunch of stuff on there. We've got, like I said, tools and materials for modeling, books for inspiration, camera gear for streaming if you want to get into that, which I highly recommend. It's fun. It's all on there, and I get a bit of a commission based off of the stuff that you buy, so it does go back to help the stream. Come on. It's a win-win for everybody. Let's see. So, as well as all of that, if you are interested in model kits or paints or amazing mecha decals, go check out my boy and the crew down here at USA Gundam Store. Adam and his fine folks down there will definitely hook you up with anything that you might need. Yeah. So, now that we got the business out of the way, let's talk about some stuff. Okay? First and foremost, I got mine on, and I got this one here. Now, this one is a size too large by mistake. So I'm going to give this one away. I am going to give this one away. I don't know how I'm going to give it away, but I'm going to give it away. Anybody in the world, doesn't matter. I'll send it to you, but I'll tell you how to win some other time. Probably on like social media tomorrow. I haven't thought about it, so I got that by mistake. I ordered a size too large. That's an extra large, an XL. I wear an extra medium. No, I wear a large. So it's one size a bit big. It's athletic cut, by the way. So if that makes any difference, which it may. So, son of a bitch. Sorry about that. So stay tuned for that giveaway, I guess. Yeah. It has not been washed. It has not been worn. Yeah, pristine. I just got it in the mail like a few days ago. And yeah. So I mistakenly ordered the wrong size. Well, shit, right? Trying to be different, you know? Everybody's telling me it's like it's going to be either blue or gray. Well, I tried to get heather blue to change things up a bit for you guys. So, what are you going to do? I tried. I really did. All right, so beyond that, if you guys have been watching Instagram for the past few hours, you may have seen a little post by New Type HQ out there in San Francisco announcing their BuildCon 2019. I am proud to say that I am going to be a special guest of theirs out there at that come November. And it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. You know, a lot of cool people are going to be out there. My boy Zaku Aurelius is coming out. He's coming all the way over from Korea. Yeah, so me and Zach get to party. I'm going to get that kid drunk. I swear. You're going to see drunk Zach. I kid you not. You will see drunk Zach at one point or another. It's a promise. It's a promise. Let's see, who else? Tex Merquise. Armita's going to be there. True Gumpla, Joel. Bunch of other cool cats are going to be there as well. So come on out. Mr. Kevin Zhang is going to be there. I just talked to him a little bit earlier. It'll be fun kind of kicking it up with him. And yeah, so I think it's going to be a good time. It's going to be 2 days out in beautiful San Francisco. So come on out for that. It should be a lot of fun, right? There's going to be a competition. There's huge prizes from what I've seen. They announced it today that evidently the first prize is a round trip ticket for 2 to Japan. Yeah. So hey, come on and enter. Might be pretty damn cool, right? Might be pretty cool. So let's see, what else? Not much else in terms of news as of right this second. The Mecha Decals are in production. We know this. So we just gotta kind of wait on Cartograph to give up the goods, right? But they're good for it. They're very, very good for it. So if you are interested in the Mecha Decal 001W in 1/100 scale size, that is available right now. More colors and scales are coming very, very soon. Like I said, they're in production. So that is definitely something to look forward to, right? All right, so theme of the night. The theme of the night is failure. The theme of the night is failure because I tried to cast this little thruster bell from an XS 1.0 Gundam for our boy Lil Andrew, and the mold just did not come out correctly. It just unfortunately did not come out correctly. And there's little Andrew. He says, thought I wouldn't be on tonight, but guess I got back here early. Good. So, yeah. So, a freaky thing happened with this particular mold. You know, I took a break from work a little bit earlier today, and about an hour or so, and, you know, came in here. I work from home. Came in here and started molding this thing. Go through the motions, go through the workflow like I always do. Use the same material, use the same process, the whole 9 yards. Mixing ratios were spot on by weight. Everything seemed normal, right? Throw this in a pressure pot for 6 hours, let it cook. Take it out at about 6 hours 15 minutes. I pull it out, and it's like a marshmallow. It's like all squishy. And this isn't even that bad. This was a lot worse before. It's actually hardened up a little bit since then. And I took this out roughly 3 hours ago. And it has definitely hardened up quite a bit since then. But as you can still see, this thing is very, very soft. And it should not be like this. Umu 30 should not be like this. Let's compare the vent mold that I made last week when I got this stuff, which came out perfectly. I mean, look at that. That's like glass, and it's a good slap on the ass sound too, right? If you try to compress this, it doesn't really compress all that much, right? And mind you, this is a lot thinner material than this is, right? But look at that. compared to that. And I'm actually trying to squeeze this harder here than this. This is garbage right now. Absolute garbage. So, not sure what happened. Talked to our good friend Brian, Mr. Bro Builder. And between the two of us, we couldn't come up with a solution as to why this did this. There are many factors that we considered. Yeah, Bro Builder, he's on YouTube right now. Not Overcooked. Nope, 6 hours. Umu 30 is 6 hour pot life, or cure time, I should say. So yeah, popped it in right away. This is practically brand new mold rubber. I actually got this, I want to say at the end of last week. And yeah, you know, the mold rubber definitely should not go bad that quickly, especially when you have quality like this straight out of the jars, right? This perfect, right? This is perfect. But this is marshmallowy crap. We don't know. You know, some things that we considered were moisture. I mold inside, so moisture is fairly consistent. Humidity is fairly consistent in the house, especially down here. I'm in the basement. So no spikes in temperature. You know, like I said, mixing ratio stayed on point. I did my calculations. You know, 1.3 of part A to 1.0 of part B by weight. It's 1-to-1 by volume, but it's different by weight. So I made those calculations precisely, measured precisely, but for some reason, marshmallowy goodness, right? Now, the only thing that I can think of, and this is what I noticed actually just before the stream. So Brian, chime in if you know, if you think of anything. Look at the color on that compared to the color on that, right? This is very blue, where this is a little purplish. Now, and this is the mixing cup that I used, and this is the leftover residual rubber that was left inside. It looks to be you know, based off of this, it looks to be thoroughly mixed. There's no great big gobs of, you know, one color of material or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't know why it did this. It's perplexing. But there's a plus side. There's a silver lining, if you will, for all of you fine folks. Since I have to remake this, I thought it might be a good idea to remake this on stream and show you kind of how the first part of a mold is created. Seems like a fair idea, yeah? So, I think you guys are, and I know a lot of you have asked for molding tutorials and stuff like that here recently. So, why not two birds with one stone, right? Makes sense, yeah? Zero Kai, he says, you probably got a bad batch. Actually, I didn't, because like I said, I used the same mold to make this guy, and this guy came out perfect just the end of last week, so just several days ago, right? Same mixing proportions, same quantity, same methodology in terms of, you know, measuring by weight rather than by volume. So, and I mean, you couldn't ask for a better mold than this quality right here. Because like I said, the back of it, it's like glass, you know? And you get that good slapping sound. You know, that's what you want with a mold like this, right? So, yeah, I don't think it was a bad batch. And Brian, you know, when we were kind of brainstorming together today, he didn't think so either. So, yeah. It's a conundrum. Word of the day, conundrum. There you go. You're welcome for that. But all right, so like I said, my loss, your game. Let's learn. Camera 2, here we go. Let's zoom out so you guys can get a better picture of this, right? Now, the piece that we're molding is this little guy right here. And let me kind of clean up the area just a bit so this isn't all befuddled. Yeah? Excuse me. Bro Builder says the ratio had to be off somehow. Did you mix the cans right after you initially opened them? Absolutely, yeah. Mixed them right after I opened them the first time. Mixed them right after I opened them today. Stir well before using. Yeah, it says right on the lid. Yeah, man. Yeah, I've been doing this too long not to take every single precaution, but yeah, looking at the colors, something had to go off. Something had to go off. I don't know what it was. Everything, like I said, all my math, I think was dead on. It's very, very hard to explain. Very hard to explain. But what are you gonna do? Anyway, so this is the piece that we're molding, right? This is the big old thruster bell from a Master Grade XS 1.0. Our boy Lil Andrew wanted some copies of this made, so he sent this to me to mold and cast and everything like that. So that's what we're going to be doing. Had to clean this up a little bit because Lil Andrew don't know how to denub his pieces. Lil Andrew. But this actually is kind of a pain in the ass part, and I'll explain as to why that is, because there are certain things that you really need to take into consideration when you're creating a mold, because that's the most crucial part of casting. It's the mold making. That's where the magic is. All right, so let's get zoomed in a little bit so you can see this part, okay? So, the inside of the thruster bell, pretty straightforward. You've got, let's get locked in there. You've got some raised detail in there. Just some different details and stuff. To make it look more mechanical, more like a thruster bell in there, right? So that right here. These raised details. These are air pocket traps. Those are places where air can definitely get caught if your orientation, if this is your upward orientation, which it won't be. We're going to turn this thing upside down like this, and this is going to be the top of our mold. Now, we've also got some raised detail in here, though, which goes to make this a little bit challenging. You've got this ring right here, this raised ring, and then you've got this middle section which is also raised. So again, both of these are prime locations for air to get trapped in. So you need to vent all of these places, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put some air escape channels on this. So we're going to put 2 on the outer lip, we're going to put 2 on this inner lip, and then we're going to put 2 more on this inner ring right here. So we're going to have a total of 6 air escapes coming off of this thing, right? Now, to do everything that we need to do, we need these guys right here. We need Legos, yeah? Because these are going to make our mold box, okay? Let me get all the little bits and pieces off here. All right, so we're going to put these off to the side, and we're going to get, just like a nice little, this is just a little Lego flat kind of plate right here, right? Just pretty small as Lego plates go, but plenty big enough for the piece that we are molding, yeah? So, zoom back in. Now, part orientation. That is going to be the biggest thing. How your part is oriented in the mold to properly allow the air to escape efficiently. That's going to be the biggest thing right now. Okay? Now, we could turn this on its side, and I could have the two-part mold running on the side there, and you know, that might work, but again, it's probably the worst orientation, because not only are you going to have this big old seam right down the middle, but you're also going to, you know, probably get air trapped in here at some point as well. So probably not the best orientation to have the mold cut right through this, yeah? So what we're going to do is we're going to just orient it like so, yeah? Now, we could have it cocked on the side like this, and we could have it escaping, you know, this way and all. But again, you're going to need the same number of air escape channels as you would if it was straight up and down. So, to save myself a little bit of trouble and headache, I'm going to save it, and I'm going to put it straight up and down just like this. Now, in terms of size of mold, right? Let's take a look here, because this is the size of this mold, and the little guy just pops right in there, and as you can see, there's gaps all the way around. Haha, Gary with the 100 bits. Thank you, son. Appreciate that, Gary. He's my bit boy. Gary's my bit boy. Anyway, Gary, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. But like I said, this mold is trash. Not only is it, you know, super marshmallowy, there's a gap all the way around the part now, and this is just stretched out. If we tried to use this and we tried to reseat this part back in here, there would be slippage, you know, in these gaps here, and mold rubber would get in there, and it would be an absolute nightmare and a mess. So this part, or this mold, is cooked. It's done. So we got to remake it, right? So first thing that I like to do, let's get zoomed out just a bit. Aaron Powell's over there on Facebook. He says, yo, this is going to be a Zaku? I'm looking forward to seeing this. Man, yeah. This particular piece is not going to be on the Zaku, unfortunately, but it's a good learning opportunity for people. So that's kind of why I'm doing it. So what I like to do is start with a corner and lay down just one layer of bricks, right? Because that'll get us started with a layer of our clay, right? And we're going to be using clay as a support to start. This is going to be a two-part mold. So we're going to get this laid in the clay. We're going to get the top molded, take everything, let that cook in the air pressure pot, take that out 6 hours later, turn it over, clean it up, pour the other side in, and then you've got a two-part mold, basically, that's ready and raring to go. Hopefully, right? So, like I said, I like to lay down the bricks first here, and we're just going to get it kind of a nice square going here. And this should be good. Just like that, right? That should be the same size. Yeah, that's the same size. Okay, so what you're going to need, and what we have here, this part right here, and this hole which connects with this hole. This is going to be your pour spout, where you pour the resin into. That's going to flow down and through this this circular channel right here, and start to fill in this part from the bottom. Imagine it being, this is the top right here. You pour in from this side, resin goes down, flows in, and starts to fill this up from the bottom, and then any air that's in there will escape through those 6 holes. So, simple concepts, but there's an artistry in terms of making a mold. Okay, so we're going to get this almost centered, but just a little off center, a little bit down to the corner here. I'm going to push this over just a hair there. And this will give us good mold walls in this thing. That's important as well. But it's also going to give us enough area right here to allow our pour spout and then our channel over from that as well, right? So let's start with the clay. We need to base this out. So the type of clay that you use is a factor. It is important. It needs to be an oil-based clay. This is kind of what I've been using for years. Basically, this is plasticine, right? And a good idea for all of this whole process is to use nitrile gloves, right? That is going to make your life so very much easier when it comes to cleanup and everything like that, because getting this shit on your hands is not recommended, not at all. So get your gloves on, right? Because this stuff is oily. It is, as you can see, this is pretty soft right out of the gate. You don't have to knead this too much to get it, soft and malleable. This stuff is pretty much good, right, ready to go. So, what I like to do is just kind of take chunks and start pushing them into the bottom of this mold box here. So, I like to start with the corners, because those are pretty important. Get your clay popped in there. Just like that, yeah. Fiery says, Pleistocene? I prefer Mesozoic. Oh, the puns. That's okay, Fiery. We understand, buddy. Anyway, but get this base nice and packed in here with clay, and you want to start flattening this out as much as you possibly can. Now, obviously, you're never going to get a truly even surface with just kind of pushing this around with your fingers, right? So you're going to need something to assist you with that. So all I use is a little scrap piece of plastic that I've made kind of just into a scraper. Nothing truly revolutionary about it. It's just flat on one side. That's it. That really is it. And then just what I do is I put one corner right on the edge of the bricks and just start to flatten that out. And it doesn't have to be completely perfect. Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. A non-sulfuric plasticine. Most of the stuff that you can get in craft stores and things like that are non-sulfuric. So the sulfuric kind of shit. Where do you even get that, Brian? I don't even know. But we just kind of go back and forth and cross-hatch this. And we just kind of scrape off minimal layers, right? of this clay, just to get it nice and nice and straight and flat here. Just clean that off. Punch that right in there. And there, I mean, we've got ourselves a fairly flat, even surface here, right? It's, you know, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it doesn't have to be. This is not rocket surgery, right? Now, one very important thing about this particular piece, since we're orienting it this way, and since we're using it in a pressure pot, this void right here needs to be filled, because if it doesn't, the pressure from the pressure pot will start to crush that air, and it will start to do very weird things to this mold and to the clay. Very weird things. So we need to fill that with a little bit more clay, right? We need to take a little bit and just basically just fill that void a little bit. Yeah? We can clean this out of here later. We can just kind of scrape this out and then wash out any stubborn little bits and stuff like that, right? But we want to get this stuff packed in here as best we can, because the last thing we need is for this part to get crazy, or this mold get any crazier than it did earlier today, right? Just saying. Alright, so we've got most of it filled right there. We're looking good. Andrew, if you're watching, take notes, because I'm not going to do this shit for you anymore. I'm done after this. Little Andrew. Okay. We're just filling this bad boy up here, yeah? Wiping off the surface, and that is thoroughly filled there, so that's looking pretty good. And we can just kind of run this over the top edge of this surface, and just kind of take off any little bit of excess there, and then there we're good. Nice and easy. So now we place this thing about a 1/4 inch from each side of the bricks, right? That'll give you a pretty nice and rigid mold wall to work with, right? And then just press this down just a little bit into the bed of clay. And just what I like to do is make sure that this has even height all the way around. So I'm just basically spinning this around to make sure that this is at the same level on all sides. And there we go. I think we're good right there. Cool. I think we are. All right. So we're half the way there, you guys. We're half the way there. Before we start to brick this up, we need to make mold keys. And if you don't know what mold keys are, I'm going to show you here in just a few seconds. To do this, you need like an old paintbrush or something like that. You just need the ends of it here, right? The roundy ends. This guy right here, right? Mold keys are what keep the two-part mold and registration with each other. They keep the mold straight, right? As you can see, these these nubs here, we're not clipping these nubs, Julio. We're not clipping these nubs. These nubs here are to keep these two molds straight, so that you get a really nice cast, right? These are very, very important. You will see a lot of industry people do these. I know Brian, he does these. This is just one of the best practices that you do when you go to make a two-part mold like this. It's an absolutely crucial step, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to punch a few mold keys into this. Now, what I like to do is just kind of start at the corners. And you don't want to go too deep, just a little indentation, nothing crazy. Right there at the corners. That gets you started, right? And then just kind of go from there. Just deepen some of these just a bit. Just like that. All right. And the more you do, the better it is. The better registration this thing is going to have. Now, you do want to be careful because as you push into the clay, that clay will push out. It will disperse, right? So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Okay, so I'm keeping this area right here clear for the pour spout and the channel. Now, you can change this up. You can use a different size brush. You can use a smaller one just to make some more if you wanted to. It's not necessary, but like I said, the more registration keys you have in there, in my opinion, the better. Just because it keeps the mold straight, right? It keeps your work from being wasted. And there we go. We got a bunch of mold keys now. Mold keys are made. Ba-boom. So, there we go. Julio says, except when the nubs are too soft. Dude, man, oh man. Yeah, this poor little guy. This poor little guy. All right, so we've got our mold keys and everything like that done. We're about to build up the brick walls around it. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm building up the bricks around it is just like any bricklayer, offset the seams, right? So we've got a seam right here, put a 4 brick down on that. We've got a seam right here, put 1 down on that, so on and so forth, right? Offset the seams so that these things will interlock, and hopefully you won't have any spillage out of these blocks. Now, the good thing about Legos is they go together so tightly that you will probably never see any sort of overspill or anything like that when it comes to mold rubber and stuff like that. It's unheard of. You know, I've never seen it happen, but yeah. Interesting. Okay. So Brian is blessing us with some knowledge here. He says, I had to jump back to check what you asked, but sulfuric plasticine is quite common. Most Roma clay for educational sculpting is sulfuric. I use Jolly King brand. Interesting. Huh. This particular clay that I've got here, I got this from Micromark back a decade ago in one of their dumb little starter sets. You know, this stuff is made for mold making, obviously. But that's interesting. I did not know that that stuff was that common, right? All right, I'm running out of bricks here. Why am I running out of bricks? Get one of these little creator tubs if you're gonna get into mold making. These things are amazing because they got a ton of bricks and they're pretty inexpensive, right? And if you got kids, they can play with the Legos afterwards. So there you go. All right, so we've got our mold box built up. Now this is well over the top of our part here, right? Now, like I said before, we're going to need some air escape channels from the top pieces here where the air can get trapped. So we're going to do that right now. Excuse me. But actually first, let's, you know what? Went one step ahead a little bit. Let's break this mold box down just a little bit here at the corner so I can get a little bit of room to pop in this this little channel. Now all this little channel from the pour spout is just a little piece of plastic rod. It's nothing complicated, right? Nothing crazy. And we are just putting it right about there and just pressing that down into the clay to meet up with our part, right? Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this down a bit because that seems a bit long. Come on, you. There we go. There we go. All right. So now, just gonna put that little guy right in there. That's our little bridge between the pour spout and the piece. And then we're gonna use this kind of bigger plastic rod, and we're gonna just basically stick that in the clay, and that's gonna be our pour spout, right? So let's real quick build these walls back up here so we can get back on this thing. Just like that. All right. So now we've got our little channel. We need to make the air escape little tubes at the top here. Now, just cleaning off the pieces that I used previously. All right. And what we're going to be using is just little pieces of 2mm plastic rod. Just these little guys here. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy, right? All right, so to glue these on, I am going to use our good old standby Ultra Liquid Control. Yes, sir. All right, so what we do here is we take our little plastic rods, hold them into tweezers, and then just right on the edge here, just pop a little drop of super glue, and then we just glue that and hold that for a few seconds right there at the edge. And then that, once it's cured, will stand up and be permanently connected. Just like that. See? And that will create our air escape channels. Now we do the same thing for the rest of the 5 pieces. We just hold this there for a few seconds, right? Fun times, right? Donnie Baxter's over there on Facebook. He says, school today, I see. You're damn right, dude. We are learning. Ugh. You know what it's about. All right. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm offsetting some of these rods here a little bit. I am putting the outside ones in this orientation here, and I'm also putting this little inside ring at that same orientation. But the middle ring, I'm putting it perpendicular to those rods. There we go. And letting go of these rods is a little like playing Operation when you were a little kid, right? You remember Operation, you guys? You try to reach in to get the little plastic organ out, and you touch the sides and went, eh. Kind of like this, but without the noise. Okay. Okay. A little over halfway there. Just 2 more rods to pop in here. Okay, let's get it on this side. And you want to give this a little bit of extra time to cure the super glue in this thing, because it's such a small connection point. There's very, very little surface area to hold these rods in place. So it's crucial, it's absolutely crucial that they hold in position, right? Last one here. So the theory behind offsetting these rods here is when we go to cast this, the liquid resin is very, very thin. It's almost the viscosity of water. So when you go to pour this, that resin will flow very, very easily throughout this mold. And with these channels here, especially it being in a straight up and down orientation, we can take this mold and kind of, you know, wish-wash it around to get that resin flowing all throughout here, and to get that air, whatever's trapped in there, out through these air channels. All right. So we've got our air channels, our air escape channels there. The only thing we have to do with this is to inset the pour spout, and that's where this guy comes in. This is like a 5.8 millimeter diameter plastic rod. We're just going to pop this right next to our little bridge right there, and we're just going to drive it into the clay, and that, my friends, that's the beginning of your mold, right? That's the beginning of your mold. Ranger Chris 61, he says, going to vacuum chamber it? No. I don't. When it comes to this stuff, I don't vacuum the mold rubber. I just put it into a pressure pot. The pressure will crush any air bubbles or anything like that, little tiny ones. It'll just crush them down to nothing, right? So taking this, and that's actually a good conversation to have here. Let's sacrifice this mold here and let's see what this looks like on the inside, right? We're just going to cut some pieces right off. Just hack this thing to bits at this point. Okay. So, this is the cross section of the mold here, right? Now, you can see a fairly big air bubble there and there. Teeny tiny one there. And they were off to the side. They were like, how's this? Okay. So they were like this, right? Here's the orientation there. And that's where they were. So the big one, especially over here, was way off from the part. But the part itself captured all the quality in there. All the surface detail and everything that you can see in there. And there's little remnants of crud in there at this point. It's dirty and all. But, the pressure pot basically crushes any little bubbles on the surface or caught in the part itself. It just crushes them down to nothing. So I don't vacuum. I just apply pressure. So it's never failed me before. I've always got really, really good castings. So, but that's a good question. It's a very good question. All right. So at this point, the next step is to mix our mold rubber, right? So let's put the mold off to the side here. Now we're going to have to do a little bit of math, right? Let's get, hang on one second, let me get the mold rubber and the scale here. Okay, there's that. One more thing, and here we go. All right. So, you guys, what we're going to be doing is mixing up this this mold rubber. And what we've got here is silicone rubber compound Umu 30 by Smooth On, right? This is a 1-to-1 ratio by volume or a 100 to 130 by weight, right? So part A, which this is part A, gets 100. This is part B. This gets 130, right? So that's what we need to do. Ah, son of a bitch. Now I see where my calculations were wrong, Brian. I swapped the two. Damn it! I swapped them. That's why. Son of a bitch. Now I see it. Ah, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Even the best of us who have been doing this for years, you know what? When you start to kind of ride on rails, so to speak, that's when you mess up. And that's where I messed up. That's where I messed up. Yeah, that's where I messed up. All right, so this gets 100 parts to this 130. Can't believe I did that. Fucking rookie mistake, you guys. Rookie mistake! Now I'm mad at myself. That's okay. That's okay. It's not a big deal. My loss again is your gain, because if I had successfully made this mold, I wouldn't be talking about it here tonight. There you go. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to reuse this same cup here. All this crap, not a big deal. We can just wipe this out and reuse this. It is inconsequential. Get all this crud out of here. That's why the colors were different, Brian. That's why the colors were different. Son of a... Damn it! Sorvan says, knowing where the problem is exactly is good. At least you don't have any doubts now. Dude, you have no idea, Sorvan. Like, you can ask Brian. Like, this was killing me earlier today. My wife and I go on this nightly walk of ours, just like, 2.25 miles or whatever. And the whole time, I'm just sitting there running scenarios through my head, like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Son of a bitch. Anyway. All right, so a few things that we're going to need. Let's get this rolling, right? You're going to need your, obviously, your molding compound, your rubber, right? You're going to need a nice little scale. I like this little guy. I think it's on the Amazon link, or something similar is on the Amazon link. And then as for mixing utensils, I really like these. If you don't know what these are ultra long metal chopsticks for like grilling and stuff like that, and working with a wok and stuff. You can get these on Amazon like I did. They come in, I think I got this in a pack of 6 or 8, something like that. These are stainless steel, and I mix everything with these things. They wipe off, and they're just perfect for this particular exercise. These are great. I highly recommend them if you're going to get into this. And Julio says metal conductor, right? Like, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Julio. Exactly. All right. And then, of course, you're going to need paper towels, because this will get a little messy, right? So, with that being said, now, what a lot of guys do, they will pour each component into its own cup and then pour it into a third cup. I really don't like doing that. It's wasteful, in my opinion. So I pour everything in a single cup, and I measure. I don't do volume. I measure by weight, just because I like the exactness of it. Right. So we turn this little sucker on. This will zero out with the cup weight on it. Now it's zeroed. Okay, so what we need, and I did the math earlier, we need a total of 85 grams of combined material to fill this mold cavity. 130 parts now for part B. So we need 48 grams of that. We need 37 grams of part A now, instead of B, which was my mistake. That, brain fart, right? So, right there, as Brian said, follow the instructions. Stir well before using, right? So we pop the cap off of this, and you can see in there, this is kind of a pinkish compound in here. And this is where these little guys come in perfectly. You just go to town and you mix this stuff like crazy, right? These little metal chopsticks are just wonderful because they reach all the way down into the thing, and you can scrape the bottom and the whole 9 yards and get all the brownie batter off the bottom and everything, and it's just great. So that's thoroughly mixed. Wipe the excess off the side a little bit. You're never going to get all this off here. It's just a fact of life. But you want to get as much material off here as possible, at least in my opinion, because this shit is not cheap, right? $25 for these 2 bottles, yeah? So that's good enough. Get you a little paper towel. And just wipe this sucker right off. And there we go. Do a double wipe. Just like that. Get your little orchestra wand or whatever they call it nice and clean. There we go. Good to go. Alright, so now we bring our little scale back in here. We make sure that that's at 0. Now we need, this is part A, we need 37 grams. 37 grams. We're going to tear this out, get that to 0. 37 grams. Let's measure it out, you guys. Start to slow it. There we go. Yeah, a little over. It's a little over. We're about 39.3. Not a huge deal. We will just redo a little bit of math. Yeah? Not a big deal at all. All right, so what we need to do, since this is 1 part to 1.3 parts, we do need to do just a teeny tiny bit of math now. So we get our handy dandy calculator here, and we go 39.4 times 1.3. That gives us 51.22. So we'll go 51 grams instead of our prescribed 48 with part B here. Okay. Now, again, stir well before using. So, we're going to use our little mixing rod here. And this stuff is much thinner than the other one. Much, much thinner. Whew, but it stinks to high hell. Okay, there we go. There's that. Let's get this wiped off here. Just like that. And now we need 52 grams of this. 52. Let's tear that down to 0. Let's measure this out again, you guys. 52 grams. And you can see here that this stuff is much, much, much thinner. 52 grams. We're going to start to slow down there. There's 49.5. Now we're just going to, just a little trickle. 52. 51, 58, 52 on the money. 51, 52.1. Not bad. Not too bad. Let's get the excess off of the the jar here. Always clean up the jars because this shit is a mess to work with when there's stuff on the rim and everything, right? All right, so we're done with that. Now it's time to mix. Your little mixing spoon or utensil here, and we just go to town on this sucker. Basically what you want to see is a completely consistent color. You want to make sure that all of these parts, all of this material is thoroughly mixed. And, you know, with this, it's easy to scrape the sides here like that, like that, right? You just get all the sides scraped out. Get all that beautiful material mixed in with everything. Okay. All right, so that right there is a much, much better color than this purple mess that I had before. That is a much, much better color, right? So there we go. Now, just get as much as possible off of here, right? Now, we don't necessarily have to wipe this off just yet because we are going to use this stirrer here in just a moment. So we're just going to set that off to the side on a paper towel. We're going to get rid of our scale here. We're going to bring our mold box back in, just like that. Now, what I like to do is start pouring in a negative empty space here. You know, bend the cup, get a nice little pour spout there, and just go to work. And this will just gently, gently, gently fill this up. And this is very kind of a satisfying, you know, type of action to watch, right? It's like one of those weird videos that you see on Facebook or YouTube, you know, the satisfying videos and stuff like that. This for me is just really kind of one of those things. It's just very satisfying. It's very zen, right? And this stuff will start to slow down here as most of the material is pouring out of this cup here. But we're looking pretty good in terms of box fill. Okay. So while that's still pouring out, I'm going to grab my little conductor wand here, and we're just going to scrape the sides of this thing and try to get out as much of this material as we possibly can. Okay. That looks pretty good. And there we go. We have a full mold, right? Now there's going to be some air bubbles escaping. I like to pick this up and just drop it a little bit, just to try and get as much air out of this thing as possible before it goes into the pressure pot, which we're going to have to do now here in just a few seconds. So I'm going to have to turn that compressor beast on. And it's pretty loud. I don't know if the mic's going to pick it up or not, but it is fairly loud. All right. Just kind of give that a nice shake. And it looks like just little minute bubbles now are just coming up at this point. When you start to see little to no bubbles pop at the surface, this thing's ready to go in. You got a nice long working time with Umu 30. You get like you get something like crazy like 20-30 minutes of work time, and so you can really just kind of work this thing down to nothing and just kind of drop it and all that, and really try to get the air out. So yeah, so this thing's ready to go. What I'm going to do next is turn the air compressor on for the pressure pot. It's going to be loud. I'm going to tell you right now. Now, again, the mic might not pick it up, or it might not pick it up as badly, right? So, let's real quick see here. All right. Be back in 1 second. There we go. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good and loud right there, isn't it, boys? Yeah. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let that thing sit and run. And when the compressor itself goes off, we know the tank is filled, and then it's time to fill the pressure pot. Get your earplugs in, guys. Yeah, rest in peace, headphone users. Ruslan's like, what? Julius Emsky says, you're going to wake the neighbors. Good thing I'm in the basement, right? I might wake your neighbors. Oh, Donnie says, oh, that's not loud at all. Dude, it's across the room, though. You know how pancake compressors are, Donnie. You work with them every day, brother. You just give it a few minutes to fill up the tank, and then we fill up the pressure pot, and we go to work. Oh, man. Uh-oh. You guys. Donnie has a question.
We have a question.
What's your question, Donnie? RF Aurora, Andrew 2 says, scroll up. Okay, let me see. Are you going to sell the thrusters that you're going to make from resin? Probably not. Probably not. Ruslan says, LOL, everyone planning to watch this at work tomorrow. Right? Oh, Donnie Baxter's, no, not really. That's fair. That's fair. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good call there. Daniel Stein is over there on YouTube. And he says, an old cheap battery-operated toothbrush held against the side of the mold box would raise the bubbles fast. That's actually a really good call. And my wife is on YouTube. She says it's too loud. Sorry, honey. I'm trying to teach the people how to mold a piece. And this is part of it. This is taking inordinately long. Hopefully this should shut off here in a few seconds. There we go. Sorry, babe. She's trying to sleep. I'm sorry. All right. So, you guys, now it's time to put this thing in the oven. So, I'll be right back. Alright, so now we connect the compressor and we fill that sumbitch up. It's filling. Oh, sorry, babe. I know she's watching, and that's my bad. Whoopsie. Oh, all right. So, you guys, 6 hours from now, at about what is that? About what? 5:30 in the morning is that's when that mold is going to come out of that pressure pot. Hopefully, in the right consistency this time. Now that I've done my math correctly, hopefully. So we'll see, right? We'll see. So. That fucker is loud, you guys. Don't even know. You don't even know. Donnie's over there. Donnie Baxter's over there on Facebook. He says he said he had a question, and he says, "Nah, not really. Just wanted to see the graphic." I love it. I love it, man. I love it. It's Lego bun in the oven. Oh man. But anyway, so you guys, yeah, that's what it takes to make the first part of a mold like that. Little chemistry, a little bit of artistry, a little bit of math. Yeah, and then a bunch of cleanup. A bunch of cleanup and waking your wife up when she's asleep. He sleeps in the basement. Aw, come on, babe. Oh, man. She was, you know what? Don't let her fool you guys. She wasn't asleep. She was still up on her phone. She was still up surfing Facebook. Don't let her lie to you guys. She was still up. She was still awake. Oh, man, we're having fun here tonight, you guys. We're learning and we're having fun. That's what matters most, right? Mecha Army. There we go. Oh, man. Lynn Harkins, just kidding. I'm drunk. She probably is drunk right now. She had a little bit. She had a little something to drink earlier. So, cheers to babe. Fun times. All right. Anywho, so like I said, we wait for 6 hours for that to cook down. That's a 6-hour cure time for Umu 30. Now, if you get a different mold, a molding material, each mold material may have a different cure time, a different demold time, right? So please keep that in mind. That's very, very important when you go to cast, your materials. I purposely get Umu 30 because it is a longer cure time. Excuse me. It's 6 hours, right? And then I get a long cure resin as well. I get Smooth Cast 322, and that has a 4-hour cure time or demold time. The reason why I like those is because the air has a much longer time to escape, and then also it gives you a lot longer to work with when you're mixing and measuring and pouring and putting it in the pressure pot, waking your wife up when she's drunk, trying to go to sleep, but she's actually faking it and she's surfing on her phone on Facebook. So those are really, really positive things to, in terms of getting a longer cure materials. Now, on the flip side of that is if you're in production, like some of these guys, like Brian or somebody like that who needs to turn parts quickly, you don't want longer cure times. You want quick cure times so you can pull that and get a bunch of castings or get a bunch of molds done, and when time is money, right? But for us, we have the luxury of patience, right? So there you go. So now that that's done, class is basically out. Let's field some questions, shall we? So I can use the
We have a question.
So let's go. Questions. Boom. Let's machine gun it. Come on, you guys. Questions. Fire them away. Let's go. Let's go. Who's got some questions? Waiting for the chat to catch up to the request. Yeah? Questions, go! R4, Andrew 2 says, I'm thinking of getting the new XS model kit to make a poor man's hummingbird. What's a poor man's hummingbird, Andrew? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Anyway. Ruslam says, so, this turned into an 8-hour stream. No. Freddy Torres, how many parts? So we're just casting one part. Just that thruster bell for Lil Andrew, right? So we're just casting that one part, but it's a 2-part mold. So there you go. Covers both bases. Yeah? Anyway. Julio Ponte says, so the problem was you didn't use enough part B. Basically, yeah. So what I did was the math. How the math goes is it's 1 part to 1.3 parts, right? And I had the 2 materials swapped. So I actually used a lot more of one than I should have versus a lot less of the other one. So, yeah, that was stupid mistake. So that's basically what it is. GamerBud, do you have a preferred corner you like to sleep in the basement? Just on my couch. Yeah, just on my couch. Julius Dempsey, question. Any other plans while you're in the Bay Area in November? Bringing the family? No. New Type's footing the bill, right? And I'm going to be flying solo because San Francisco is mad expensive to travel to and stay in and all that shit. So, yeah. No. So, you know, basically any plans, just hanging out with the people there. Zach's coming in from Korea, like I said. Joel's going to be there. Kevin Zhang's going to be there. A bunch of other people are going to be there. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun, yeah? Let's see. R4, not putting all of your effort that you put into yours. Aw, Andrew. You can do it, buddy. William Williams, we have a question. How do you decide when a part needs to be one part or two parts? So if a part has a flat, completely flat surface, then that's a prime example for a one-part mold. Similar to these vents and stuff like that, the greeblies and stuff that I made, these all have flat backs, and these are prime candidates for a one-part mold. A two-part mold has volume, and it's usually more complex in shape. So a lot of the times it's going to be a two-part mold. It's very rare that you can get away with a one-part mold like that. So that's kind of how I decide anyways. Chris Pabs is over there on Facebook. Tim, what kind of resin will you be using to cast? Smooth Cast 322. It's a longer cast resin, or a longer cure resin, so that's why I really, really like it. So, yeah. Let's see. Sharty wins. Shart wins. Chart twins. Chart. Anyway, so when the bell is filled with clay, is the other half open? When you cast the other, I've been interested in casting parts for a long time. So basically, what happens is that you keep the part in the part of the mold that you just poured, right? You keep that in there. Do not take it out under any circumstances, or you're going to lose registration of the part in the mold. So you keep that in there. You just peel back the clay and everything. Spray a little mold release on that and the inside of your part. Pour some more mold rubber onto that, and then you've got your second part to the two-part mold. It's always easier on the second part. So that's kind of how that is. Gundam Taz is over there on YouTube. He says, "Good day. What's going on, Robbie?" Sorvon says, "Can you get a good Lego set on your Amazon? That's about the last component I need to figure out." Absolutely, I will hook you up. Don't worry about it. I will get something there on there tonight, Sorvon. I promise you. Right after the stream too. Julio Ponte says, "I hate math, dude. It's not my. I'm good at math, but this was just a dumb mistake." Just a dumb mistake. Fiery says, "Blah, I had to feed the kitty cat. Anything major I missed?" Not really, other than me waking up my wife. Chris Pab says, "Also check messages." Nice, I will, Chris. Viper's over there on YouTube. He says, "Better question, why is Tim?" I see what you did there. Dwidget says, "San Fran is always uber expensive." Dude, it really is, right? Ruslam, hi Taz, Tim's doing an AMA. Sort of. Nearly back to work time, Taz, sorry. Dwidget says, "Hey Tim, you Just a Cannon left Japan the other day." Sweet, thank you, brother. Dwidget hooked me up with a Just a Cannon. Paid a good price for it, so if you're interested in some P. Bandai-liciousness, check out Dwidget. He can hook you up. He can find anything that you need. He's kind of like the bounty hunter in Gunpla, so yeah, he'll find the unfindable for you. Thurno Hobbies and Games on Facebook if you're interested. Let's see, Brobler, I've made several 3-part molds for complicated prop replicas. Interesting stuff. Dude, yeah, luckily I've never had to make a 3-part or a plug mold or anything like that, and those can get hairy. So yeah, I've never crossed that boundary before. So Taz says, "Back to work. Enjoy the day, guys. Be good to one another." Robbie, as always, pleasure, buddy. Julius Dempsey, question: do you put the mold back into the pressure pot after pouring in the resin to get the air out of the resin? Absolutely. You let so basically what happens is the pressure pot compresses. You leave everything in the pot to cure completely, right? So that mold is going to stay and it's going to live in that pressure pot for the next 6 hours. That will be its home for the next 6 hours until I take it out. Same thing with the resin. When you have both molds, both parts of the mold cured and ready to go, you pour the resin in, you pop that thing back in to the pressure pot, you let it live in there for 4 hours until that resin is cured, and you've got a beautiful piece. All the pieces that I made for the Aussie, the Hummingbird, everything like that have been made in that very same pressure pot, in the very same manner that we're working with right now. Same workflow, same everything. William Wilms, how do you decide between doing resin molds over vacuum forming parts? That's a great question, Will. That is a really, really good question. So, vacuum forming for me is more rare than resin casting, right? So when vacuum forming, I usually use that as a purely scratch building style technique, as compared to resin casting, which is a duplication style technique, right? So what I usually do is I make a master piece, like scratch build a masterpiece, and then mold that and cast that and duplicate it many, many times. Like I said, same thing that I did with the Aussie's knee, right? And then also, what are some other parts that there were some leg inserts that I made as well. Let me see. I think I still have the originals up in here. Yeah, I do. All right, so check this out. So these here, this here, and I'll go to 2-camera here in just a second. That's an original part of the Aussie that I scratch built. That's one part of the knee. Let me see if I can find the other one here. Let's see. Sometimes it's easier to just look up under the the damn thing, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's go 2-camera and I'll show you here. So this right here is the original piece that I scratch built for the Ozymandias knee. So you can see this started out as the stock piece for the knee. Let's get the focus. And built this up and reshaped it, obviously with Tamiya epoxy putty, trimmed this out with plastic, filled the back in here to customize that, etched panel lines in the back here to give it that nice look, and then obviously panel lines and notches all around here. So what I did was, this was my master. I molded this, and then I resin cast a couple copies of this. I always keep the masters. I never, ever, ever use the master parts, because what if you want to use them again? Then you're SOL, right? So always keep your master parts separately so you can always recast or remold these things. Very useful. Very, very useful. Now, when it comes to vacuum forming, you've already got a piece. Say for instance, like the parachutes. The parachutes had to be vacuum formed. There was no other way that I could do that. For the airdrop. Parachutes and stuff. Now, if you're wanting to make like overlay armor or something like that over some curved surfaces, vacuum forming is definitely the way to go, because you're gonna have a hard time plating up, compound curved surfaces. It's just not going to be feasible with rigid plastic sheets or strips or whatever. So vacuum forming, melting that plastic a little bit and vacuum forming that around those pieces to get a nice shape is definitely the way to go. So that's kind of the difference that I see in terms of the differences between vacuum forming and resin casting. Hopefully that helps, Will. Ruslam, 6-part molds are the best for simple shapes. Nice. Kennesim, will it be the same method for casting hand parts? Yes, pretty much. This whole workflow that I do is applied to pretty much everything. Pretty much everything that I any resin casting that I do, this is the same method. So, yep. Zashawn Gumpla Ronan, he says, "Sup, Tim, I left the Facebook crew, insert evil laugh, ha ha ha." Nice. Freddie Torres, how drunk will you be at Sabaton? At night, hopefully moderately to heavily. We'll see, right? Kai Sanning is over there on Facebook. Tim, any tips for line scribing on curved surface? Example, like line scribing on Zaku head parts. Dude, yes. Okay, so the biggest thing that you can do in terms of scribing on a curved surface like that, still use your Dymo tape or your High-Q tape or whatever guide tape that you traditionally use, right? Now, this stuff is pretty wide. The Dymo tape is about 9 millimeters wide. You can get High-Q in 6 and 3 millimeters wide. The 3 millimeter wide is probably going to be your best bet, but you can even cut these strips down into like 2 millimeter, 1 millimeter, and use those, because what you're going to need is you're going to need a higher surface area for that tape to adhere to, a higher percentage of surface area. So if you were to lay this down on a curved surface, there would be a lot of tape, sticky surface that would not adhere to the curves, right? Just because guide tape is semi-rigid, right? So if you cut them in little strips, the percentage of that tape laying down perfectly on the surface is going to be much, much higher. Thus, you're going to get better adhesion out of that tape and a better guide, and you're going to get better scribe lines as well. Another thing that you can do is you can use templates. Templates like one of these awesome little guys right here from U-Star. This is a great little circle guide that I just got off of Taobao. These are all metric circle sizes right here. Very, very useful. Or alternatively, you can just go to a local drafting store, art store, whatever, and just pick up one of these little circle templates. This is obviously in imperial sizes because I'm in the States and we still are barbarians and use that. But you can use these little circle templates as a great scribing guide as well. So, Kai, I hope that works, man. Hope that answers your question. Will says, so when you sleep on the couch, which of your models do you cuddle up with? Ruslam got it. The bear guy. I gotta cuddle with the bear guy. It's just cute, man. Come on. Supersat5's over there on Twitch. He says, I have a question about paint. Can I use Mr. Leveling Thinner with E7 paints? I don't know. I've never tried E7 paints, so I'm not 100% sure. But you can always test it and find out, right? So mix a little bit of E7 in a empty jar with a bit of Mr. Leveling Thinner. See how it goes. Test it out on a spoon. You might be onto something, right? Chances are, since they're both solvent based, since they're both lacquer kind of paints, I would imagine that they probably would work at least okay together. So you never know until you try. And I wouldn't test on a part. I would not commit to spraying that stuff on a part. So, yeah, give it a shot, right? Let's go to one camera. I don't know why I'm still on two cameras here. Anyway. William, so Ruslam, are you thinking he already has the 50 centimeter bear guy made that he keeps for himself for the couch cuddling? It's a possibility. Freddie Torres, what's this about 50 centimeter bear guy? Ruslan says, Tim obviously has a perfect gray bear guy. Julio says, and definitely wash the piece. Yeah, definitely wash the piece. That's a no-brainer. Sorvan is over there on Twitch. He says E7 is lacquer, if I recall correctly, so it should work. I happen to agree. Yeah. William Williams says he likely took one of his daughter's teddy bears and just used markers to add scribe lines to give it a more mechanical look. Nice. Fiery says, on that note, should I pre-thin my paints? I've been adding X drops of paint to Y drops of thinner right into my airbrush. Yes. Never mix into the airbrush cup. That is not a best practice. That is honestly a recipe for disaster, really, because what you're going to find is that some of that paint does not mix, especially the stuff that goes down into the bottom of that cup will not get mixed, and you'll shoot out a stream of one color that you don't intend to spray, and then it will transition into your mixed color. So yes, definitely pre-mix, pre-thin, all that. Yes, absolutely, 100% do that. Of course, James always mixes in the airbrush cup because James is a fucking cool guy, right? No Zaku boy. Come on, James. You're better than that, son. Ruslan says, mixing in airbrush can leave particles settle and clog the airbrush. Yeah, it's a good practical reason for it, yeah. Now, for those of us that use siphon feed, we don't really have to worry about this because we mix in a jar anyway, right? One of the many, many advantages of using a siphon feed airbrush. Haha. Chris Pabs is over there on Facebook. He says, Tim, in response to that question for E7 paint, some of their colors work with Mr. Leveling Thinner, but not all. I asked directly, use their thinner 1 ratio. Oh, 1:3 ratio. Shit. Chris, so Chris put a colon and then a 3 right afterwards, which then on my master chat program turned it to an emoji. So it gave it a 1 kind of weird smiley face ratio. But it should be a 1:3 ratio. I get it. That's funny. Excuse me. Julio Ponte says, I'm a fan of mixing in the cup too. Man, you guys are killing me with this. Never mix in the cup, you guys. Never mix in the cup. Come on. You're better than that. You're better than that. And, hey, you know what? Shout out to Julio real quick, because we were on, I was on watching him and George, Mr. Old School Gumpa last night, hanging out. And I guilt-tripped Julio into doing some more work on his model. So, Julio, get on it. Make me proud. Make the Mecha Army proud. Put that work in, bitch. Oh, man. Yeah, you can do it, man. We have faith in you. That's why we push, right? That's why we push you to do better, bigger and better things. Because you're good enough to do it. You have the ability. You just gotta want it. So get on it, dude. Bry Guy. So going on, Brian. He says, "Hi guys, I'm late to the party, but you made it. You're gonna rewatch the good stuff at a later date, though. So it is good stuff. It is good stuff. Because we made a mold. So it's in the pressure pot right now cooking, but you can rewatch it, right? You can rewatch it. No Zaku Boy says, haha, I just hate mixing colors. Yeah, well, don't we all? James says, mix in cup, use old brush and blow air back into it, and you get a good mix. Guys, you guys are killing me with this. Man. Chris Pab says, haha, my bad. 1:3 ratio. Paint to thinner. There you go. Ruslam, use an old brush. No. Jonathan RG, he's over there on YouTube. Does anyone pre-thin whole bottles of Mr. Surfacer? I just want to save time and effort, but not sure if that changes the quality of the primer. Actually, I do. Yeah, I do. I have 2-ounce bottles, glass bottles that I get. They're Badger, by Badger. And I just get those off Amazon, and I will take an entire jar of Mr. Surfacer 1000, pre-thin that sumbitch down, and store it across 3 or maybe even 4 2-ounce bottles. So yeah, I definitely do that, Jonathan. I think that's a really good question, and I think it's a really good call. I've never had any sort of issues in terms of quality of the surfacer going bad or anything like that. I just don't think it does, because it's basically just like any paint. You can bring it back if it dries out, you know, with a little bit of thinner. So yeah, you'll be fine. Excuse me. Fiery says, well, now I feel bad for taking so long on my model. Yeah. Did you spend 4 years on a model? I did. But then it took me to Japan, so I don't have much room to talk, do I? Gumbler Ronan Zashan, he says, I do. I usually mix 2 jars. There you go, right? Julio Ponte, yes. Gonna go hard, just gonna take mad time. Dude, you know what? That's the thing, Julio. Quality takes time. As you can see. Check this. I haven't even shown you guys the updated the status of the Zaku here, have I? Quality, you guys, takes time. Yeah? There he is. That's so far, right? All the pipes are made, all the power cables are installed. That's all ready to rock and roll. Yep. The feet are looking good. Everything's glued into place. Dude, this thing is it's definitely one of a kind, you know? Somebody posted on Instagram, King of all Zakus. I might have to run with that. I might have to make that kind of a thing, you know? Like, maybe the pilot is nicknamed Zaku King or some shit like that. I don't know. Yeah, you know, too bad this is going to be on the losing end of things, right? What are you going to do? Let's see. Bry Guy says, hi, Tim. Was just prepping before I get... God damn, the chat, he's going. Before I get my first batch of resin... Just keeps popping back. Resin ready to test out. Nice, dude. Yeah. Rewind it back. We made a mold. Yeah, it's good stuff. Nozaku Boy says, break all the rules. I also never put the caps back on my BMC chisel. God damn, James. Chisel discipline, son. Cap that shit. Art Ink by DB. Oh, Art. Donnie, he's over there on YouTube now, too. Watch out. John Mua's over there on Facebook. He says, hi, what's up, John? Thank you for watching, buddy. Appreciate that. Nozaku Boy James, he says, I just like watching the world burn. All right, Heath Ledger. Shark Twins say, any tips on making GM feet wider for that armor look? I have been wanting to do that for my prototype GM custom build. Yeah, dude, just plate it up with some like half millimeter plastic strip or plate, and yeah, you can do that very, very easily too. Excuse me. Take a look at the feet for the Zaku that we've been working on, and you can kind of see some of the plating that I did for that. Also, take a look at the shield, and you can see some of the plates that we did too. So you can kind of mimic that very simply too. Yeah. Let's see. Freddy says, when is it getting chopped? Yeah, you know what? This thing is not going to get chopped. This thing is going to stay intact, but we're going to change the, like I said, I think we mentioned it a while ago, that the positioning of the two mechs is going to be different, right? So if you guys have missed it, the Zaku is going to have the mother of all Heat Hawks, the Moa Hawk. He's going to be raising it up, coming down. The Gelgoog Hunter is going to be catching its forearm like this and kind of squeezing in, crunching into the forearm, and that I'll have to kind of sculpt in and everything like that. But instead of the Gelgoog coming in like this, This is like more of a closed position, so you won't be able to see the body modifications and the details and stuff like that. So what we're going to do, instead of a closed position like this, making that kind of killer blow, we're going to have the Gelgu kind of, cranking back like this and, getting ready to swipe in. So that's more of an open pose. I think it's going to be a little bit more dynamic. Hopefully, it tells the story a little bit further, and it also will showcase the modeling done on the two mechs as well. So that's the idea. This guy is still going to be on the losing end of things. He ain't getting out of it that easy. But I think the Gelgoog needs to be more on display. Yeah. So that's the idea at this point. Let's see. Fiery says, Tim, that is going to look so weird when it's painted only because I'm so used to seeing it like this. Yeah, dude, and that is the weird part, right? You start to recognize the different color palettes and things like that. The blue on the backpack, the white, on the shields and stuff like that, the different color headpieces, the different color shields and all that, and you do kind of start to familiarize yourself with that. So that's, yeah, it is very weird. Like when I went to paint the Aussie, it was very weird, very, very weird, because it had so many different components and stuff like that. So yeah, it's odd. I'm not gonna lie. Gumbler Ronan Zashan's over here on YouTube. He says, have you thought about making us a resin upgrade kit for the Zaku? Dude, no. No, that's more work than even Julio would want to put in. Let's put it that way. No. The main reason being, beyond it taking literally forever to try and cast each piece, because pretty much everything is touched on this model. I don't want another one of these floating around in the world. Call me selfish, right? I want this one to be singularly unique. Plain and simple. Now, mind you, the Mohawk may be on the table for consideration in terms of resin casting, because I have had a pretty large number of people, hey, can you cast one of those? So that may be on the table for consideration, right? But in terms of the Zaku parts and stuff like that, hell no. That's going to stay a one-off. That is absolutely going to stay a one-off. You want to see it, you're going to come to me to see it, right? So, excuse me. Sorvan says, put some crown decals on the Zaku King. Yeah, right? I could definitely play around with that motif a little bit. I could play around with that motif a little bit and really kind of play that out, right? For those of you that know the background of this model that I've explained the full idea to, that could be interesting. But I don't want to give away everything. There are some hidden components that I am not sharing with you until the very, very end, as to when I kind of reveal those to everybody, right? So, you'll see the builds of the mechs and everything. I'm not hiding that from you guys, but in terms of some of the scenery and stuff like that of the base, there's going to be some surprises. Let's put it that way. Gunplay in Miami, what's going on, dude? He says, that sounds sick. Thank you, man. Edward Leonard says, make a shirt. Oh, trust me, one will be made eventually. William Wills, do you think you will take a spare forearm to do the crushed look so you can show off the Zaku on its own without the crushed forearm? Yes, I will. We've got donor kits and stuff like that, so absolutely. The portions that are going to get crunched are going to be down here and the regular forearm. So these side pieces are swappable, so I can take these on and off whenever I damn well please, and then we can just pop on the extra armor, and that's really going to be it to kind of hot swap the damaged versus the new. So that's another reason why I didn't want to slice into this thing, because I did want the option to display him on his own, right? Jason Moa over there on Facebook, he says, do you guys have any tips of making a custom kits? Because I feel like doing custom kits. Dude, you're in the right place, brother. Because that's what we do. We make custom shit, right? Just in case Jason missed it, this is the current state of the Zaku here. Let me get a grip on this sumbitch here. That's the current state of the Zaku that we're working on. Very, very custom. Johnny ridden high mobility base with some Sinanju Stein hips and skirts and everything, and then obviously the feet are Sinanju Stein as well. And we've got the Briarlant backpack on there with some custom pods on either side, and then the backpack, which I know is going to be a little hard to see. This is from Gelgoog 1.0, so yeah, dude, we make custom shit, so you're in the right place, dude. The airdrop was, was a simple build in the grand scheme of things, because we did very, very little scratch building on the actual base kit. The scratch building that we did was on the gun a little bit, and more so on the drop pack. And then obviously the parachutes and the base and everything, those were all, scratch built. But the main Jesta was just simple details and stuff like that. So definitely go back and check some of those out, because we have been doing this for a pretty long time here. Every single episode is packed full of information. So, dude, you are definitely in the right place. So, welcome. Gumpleronin, fair enough. From his question about making a recast of this thing. Bro Builder. All right, I'm heading off. Cheers. Brian, thank you, brother. I appreciate your brainstorming help earlier, man. Really do. Thank you. Julio Ponte. Dude, Zaku Emperor. Does it sound too pretentious? I know Zaku King is, like, right up there. But Zaku Emperor? I think it sounds a little bit much. I like the ring of Zaku King better. Zaku King. Rolls off your tongue. Anyway. William Williams, tell all those Facebook watchers to jump ship and watch all of your streams on glorious YouTube. Hashtag Mecha Army. Thank you, Will. Appreciate that, buddy. Julio Aponte, my team supreme. Stay clean. Damn right, dude. Damn right. That's what we do. Yeah. All right, so you guys, it's been an interesting night, hasn't it? I think this has been fun. What do you guys think? Hopefully you guys learned a little some. Yeah. I think we're about to wrap it up here. Yeah. Kenneth Sim, Zaku Warlord. Fiery says Zaking. I don't know, Zaku King, and just there's something about it. Something about it. Donnie says, Triple Beam, Lyrical Dream, I be that. Dude. Socrates Philosophies. Oh, that was the best goddamn verse ever. Socrates Philosophies. How did it go? Something hypotheses. You're watching while I drop in these. Oh. Damn, that's the come on, if you guys aren't familiar, that is the most fire ass verse I think I've pretty much ever heard. Come on now. You can't beat a little Wu-Tang. Can't beat a little Wu-Tang. Yes, sir. All right, so with that being said, you guys, hey, if you want one of these cool-ass Chowda Mecha shirts, please check out www.chowdamecha.com. Hit the store link up at the top. You'll find shirts, hats, and bags, and other cool stuff on there. If you are interested in any of the materials that we have worked with here tonight, the resin and all that stuff, you can find it on the Amazon link just below here on YouTube and Twitch. That side if you're watching on Facebook. As always, I do get a little bit of commission based off of the stuff that you buy, so please buy as much as you want. It goes to help the stream. Besides all that, if you want to get hooked up with some models, some paints, some amazing Mecha Decals, hit up our good friends right down here in the corner at USA Gundam Store. Adam and the folks down there will definitely hook you up with whatever your needs may be. Yeah. Also, too, save the date for in November for New Type BuildCon 2019. I will be out there with a bunch of other cool people hanging out, putting on panels, showing some models, judging a competition, just having a grand old time. It'll be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And then Sabaton is coming up real soon. Real soon. At the end of August, beginning of September, out in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Me, a bunch of those Gundam guys are going to be out there with Chris R. from the chat. Just having a lot of fun, man. Having a lot of fun. So come out to every one of them and come out and see us and have fun and hang out, talk shop, learn some stuff. Support Mecha Army. Right? Alright, you guys. Until Friday, this has been the Child of Mecha live stream. I've been your host, Tim, the one and only Child of Mecha, and I hope you learned a lot here tonight because I'm tired and I may have to sleep in the basement tonight. Anyway, alright, you guys. Have an awesome Thursday. I will see you on Friday. Take care, everybody, and be safe out there. Go build something cool. Go, bye.